east side of Pipe Creek where the marina splash pad and basically recreation area is for the marina owners, just north of Castaway Bay, was something that we also needed to figure out how we were going to get through. And several years of discussions with Cedar Point, Cedar Fair, and with the marina owners or the marina operator, they've given us the easement through that property, so we have to demo the splash pad and the infrastructure that's there to get the bike path and to get that big bridge that's going to be over Pipe Creek.
There used to be a pool and now it's a splash pad, is that what you're
Yeah, I
telling me?
think there's a pool there still right now. We have to fill that in. We already have a sewer line and a water line that goes through there, so we already have easements through there that really restrict them from doing anything more than what's there. But we are going to have to demo the pool and backfill, and we're staying within our area. Now, that's just an easement. We're not acquiring it. And frankly, I don't want to acquire it. I'd rather have an easement through there so I don't have to maintain the shoreline and everything else. So we are getting the easement through there. And then we're going through the parking lot, snaking through that parking lot for the facility to the north of Castaway Bay on the north side of that parking lot. And then when we get over to Hidden Harbor, there's a small little piece on the corner of the drive, the south corner of the drive entrance going into Hidden Harbor, that for some reason Cedar Point owns it, and it's a sliver that goes all the way from Cleveland Road up to that driveway. So we needed a little piece of that as well. That's very, very small, like not even a hundredth, I don't think, or maybe it's not even a tenth of an acre in there that we're getting, but we needed to tidy that up as well. So basically, the only easements we need left are from Cleveland Road up to that western entrance into Hidden Harbor. And we're still working on those, and we're pretty close on many of them.
Sweet.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Rudolph.
I just noticed the day before yesterday that in the weekend paper, the Register, Andy Oriel wrote a rather thorough article on the matter. So if anybody missed that, I thought it was must close to a page, so it was a lot of information there.
Okay. Very good. Anything else on the pathway, Bill?
So from that kind of that harbor entrance to just, well, I guess what was Bayshore Beverage will be on the north side of, all along the north side of Cleveland Road then?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, on the north side of Cleveland Road, meaning it'll be in the old rail bed, not along Cleveland Road.
Oh, okay.
It'll be in the old rail bed. Between Bayshore and Heminger Ditch, the Knights Inn is what will be a
That.
separated path along the north side of Cleveland Road. And as part of the Cleveland Road project that we have, the safety project that we got funded through ODOT, where we're looking at improving signals and extending turn lanes and those types of things. That was something that for that remaining section from Bayshore to Hidden Harbor Park or Harbor Parkway, we're putting sidewalks on the north side of the road as well. So you still have that connection to get there. So you will be connected in both routes.
Okay. Very good. I think that covers all those questions. Okay, great. Anything additional on the landing then, Aaron, in addition to what you touched on? Okay, we'll move on then to West End connectivity.
Yes.
Any updates there? Okay, I guess we'll move on. I guess that's it. Any other old business that anyone has to bring forth? Dave?
I'm not sure where this best fits in the agenda, but thinking about Cedar Point and acquisition there, on the south side of Cleveland Road, along Pipe Creek, that area where Bree's been working and all that, any development about access to that or transacting that property? Any idea what the holdup or?
Through the chairman, my understanding is that it's still privately owned down in there, for the, if not all of it, at least the majority of it, and then even the access to it is privately owned through Cedar Point, so they'd have to grant easements and driveways and those types of things to get south through their parking area, and then give probably a designated parking area there as well. I know that, the Soil and Water District's been running that project, and I'm not sure if there's an intent to ever make it
We're
public.
talking about the new wetland.
I don't know what the long-term plan is for that.
Mr. Zuloff?
Mr. Chairman, I'm acquainted with some people that do some windsurfing and kayaking, that sort of thing. It's intuitive. We think about car access, pedestrian access, that sort of thing. Hopefully what we'll keep in mind is that there are other modes of transportation by water, and that windsurfers and kayakers and that sort of thing would find access valuable, and it would be, kind of, I don't know if you think of it as active use, but I think kayaking through there certainly would be passive use. But I understand you're keeping that in mind too, that, or if you're not, maybe I hope it gets considered to create, as you create these features, beaches in a geological sense, not as in a bathing beach sense, that it would be probably beneficial to make them inviting to non-impactful types of access from the water. I'm not sure it would be great to have raft parties there. On the other hand,
Through the chairman, I do know that it is completely accessible by water. If you're in a kayak or paddleboard or those types of things, it's
Sure.
not inaccessible. There's not a ramp there to back a vehicle up with a trailer and unload them.
but arriving by water, you could.
If you get on in Big Island at that boat ramp that we installed at Big, or the dock that we installed at Big Island, you can easily paddle down through there. It's, the work that she did is absolutely beautiful, and it's so, those are the types of projects I love to see, so I'd love to take a kayak through there.
So would the designers consider raft parties desirable or undesirable?
Knowing Bree, I would think that she would consider a barge party desirable, but probably not in that area.
Yeah, well said, but not there.
All right.
Yeah.
Carl,
Yes,
one
Judy?
question. There has been talk by ODOT of a roundabout at Cleveland Road and Cedar Point Drive. Is that still in the works, or what's happening there?
So through the chairman, yes, we're looking at that. That's a consideration. That's part of the safety project on Cleveland Road. That project was a project that was really led by Mr. King's office and their engineer at the time, when we did the study and the analysis from Rye Beach Road all the way to Sycamore Line, including Butler. And we were fortunate enough to get funding for one of the recommendations, which was the roundabout at Cedar Point Drive and Cleveland Road. What we're looking at is 3 or 4 different alternatives. We wanted to make sure that we had the traffic study at that location tidied up, so we've been spending a couple months with the engineer doing the preliminary traffic analysis and reevaluating everything to ensure that a roundabout is the right solution at that location. We don't have the results back yet. It does look like it's probably going to be the best solution, but then the question is how many lanes and how many signals and everything else, and how do you route traffic so that somebody isn't stuck in the middle all the time looking at Big Bend.
So would that be a city project or an ODOT project?
City project.
City
Cedar Point
project.
Amusement Project.
Pardon me?
Cedar Point Amusement Project. New ride at Cedar Point.
Okay, thank you.
Merry-go-round. Yeah,
Mr.
could be.
Chair. Yes.
In all fairness, when I was in England, if you get on double and triple lanes, you never get off. I think I'd still be on the roundabout, had it not been from the inner lanes, trying to get to the outer lane.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I've done that in Ireland, so, and they have multiple three,
Yep.
4-lane roundabouts. It's
Well,
not,
add that to the left side of the road and it makes it
right.
really interesting.
Right, yeah, it does. It does make it very interesting. Remind me to tell you the story about my wife being stuck in a funeral procession in a roundabout in Massachusetts. So, okay. So,
Say something.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
um,
David.
following up on Judy's question, it just made me curious. They've designated some new traffic patterns at that intersection this summer. How does that working compared to, I mean, is that considered an improvement? Is that helping with the efficiency of that intersection?
Yeah, through the chairman, that was something that we put more as a short-term permanent solution, and it was a temporary solution, I think, a couple of years ago, and it has worked a lot better. Now, vehicles still, I think some of them still look at those delineators as a target, so we're replacing them on a regular basis. But the flow of traffic has really improved quite a bit, especially in the curb lanes, because they get to continue through. And I think that same idea is what we're looking at with the roundabout, is how do we keep that continuous motion of that westbound turn lane, as well as can we get a continuous motion of an eastbound through straight lane, and then a southbound west turn lane as well. So it's figuring out all those motions while also making sure that if traffic is coming eastbound at that roundabout, you don't have a continuous flow of traffic eastbound going north, so then somebody westbound can't continue through the intersection. So we're trying to play with those things and figure out where that balance is and if we need signals and those types of things. So that's what really the traffic analysis is trying to figure out, first, if the roundabout is the best method, and second, what that proper flow is. And I think they're going to use what we have out there as a template for how to move forward, because it has been working pretty well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mike.
And just, I think it's a good time to mention that in some contexts, there's like a difference between a roundabout, and some experts make the distinction between a roundabout and a rotary. In Europe, they in some contexts, we define a rotary as these really big traffic circles. They're, might be 3 or even 4 lanes wide and 200 feet in diameter, and they're designed to navigate at speed. And those things are, do lead to horrific accidents. Sometimes they move more traffic. They're faster. Some people like them for that reason, but versus what we call a roundabout, or East Coast, sometimes they call it a traffic circle, but much smaller, much lower speed. When you have accidents, they're less mortality, and so keeping in mind that if you ever had a negative experience in a European or some parts of the country rotary or a higher speed big traffic, that's not the same thing that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, through the chairman, we're not talking about a large rotary, mostly for the limitations on property that we have there. We are trying to stay out of the water as best we can. We're trying not to go south into the former Asian restaurant that was there, and the billboard that's there, that's also private property. And we're certainly trying not to impact Sortino's property on the corner as well. So
I still think of it as a rotary site.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on that? Good.
I have one
Yeah,
other
Judy.
one. In regarding that intersection, obviously this year, the traffic has come down Cleveland Road, excuse me, and First Street. Very little traffic on Columbus Avenue. Is that a Google map? Why is that?
through the chairman, I don't know exactly why that is. My guess is Google and all the Apple Maps and everything else. We do not have the amount of traffic coming up 250 that was there when Butler was installed. It's just not there like it used to be. Traffic is coming up Route 4 as opposed to 250. The mapping systems are taking them. If you're coming from the west or from the east, you're getting off at Rye Beach. If you're coming from the west, you're getting off over at Fremont and taking Venice Road in. But any traffic from the south is now split between 250 and 4, and they know that there's the signals on 4, so most people are on 250, so most are taking Route 4. It really has made the Butler Street not as important as it used to be. And I think all that traffic that's coming up Route 4, the natural way of getting to Cedar Point from that point is to get on Monroe and head across and connect to 5th or 1st, which we're hoping that they get on 1st rather than 5th. And, you know, I really think that the amount of traffic that would be impacted by all the work on Cleveland Road is a lot less than it would have been 25, 30 years ago when people were printing out routes and, you know, going by what friends told them on how to get there, which was up 250. So.
It just seems to me if we could get some of that traffic to come down 250 to Butler Street, it would alleviate some of the backup on First Street and Cleveland Road and the Chaussee. I just wondered why.
And a lot of the 250 traffic is actually being routed around, no matter how much we tell them to take Butler, and we tell the Google sites and these mapping agencies to, you know, come all the way up to Butler, they're still taking them down Perkins over to Pipe or Remington. I think we might have the Pipe stuff somewhat figured out, but it's the routes that those mapping agencies take them is not.
Just curious.
All right, good questions. Any other discussion?
Mr.
Okay.
You're
Yes,
still on this one.
we're still on old business.
Thank you.
If it-
Well, are you looking for other new, old business?
Other old business.
Yes, I have other old business.
Yes, Mike.
At the last meeting, we brought up the possibility of slower speed limits on Shoreline, and then decided, the question was, you know, should we make a motion? And the answer was, well, let's wait until we have more members here. Well, I don't think we can have any more members than we have today, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I wanted to bring that up as old business because we sort of tabled that discussion. But the idea was, you know, should Shoreline be slowed down a bit? And apparently there seems to be some constraints based on the current ordinances that kind of guide those speed limits. So then the question becomes, should we recommend a change to the ordinance to allow 15 miles per hour on Shoreline specifically, or maybe more generally, 15 miles an hour in places of heavy pedestrian use and that sort of thing? Because I think there's a broad perception that there are some safety issues there because, you know, even, you know, if you have a 25-mile-hour limit in a residential area and somebody goes 34, you know, they're not going to get a ticket because it's 9 under, and they can, you know, they usually don't get a ticket unless it's really egregious.
It's the only.
34 would be pretty egregious on Shoreline, and so 15 limit would, you know, give, would probably lead to a safer use of that road, in my opinion. But there seemed to be some support from that, from the community too. And also recognizing that Commissioner Harris is here, it might also be useful to see if there might be some support from that, from the commission, the city commission. There's no point making the recommendation if there would be no support for it, but I wonder if there might be.
I guess the question I'd have is how much are we seeing people speed down Shoreline? I go it pretty much every day, and my big frustration are the people that are going 10 miles an hour rather than somebody going faster than the speed limit, so,
Mr. Chair?
yes, Mark.
To that recommendation, I would oppose it for the basic reasons that I don't see a higher incident of quote-unquote accidents or injuries in that area. City statutes have taken care of most of those factors, including the design of it requires that you do move at a slower pace down there because you have a narrower street footage. And just to change, I think, is not the proper way to go.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, and thinking about this yesterday and actually speaking with you, I've witnessed, a few people, going down there at, crazy speeds. That guy, I didn't have my radar out that day, but, but they're probably, and I think on 2 occasions they were crotch rockets, probably taking off every bit of 45 miles an hour. But I think that part of that becomes, the show off part, but, and then occasionally you might have a truck or a vehicle take it, but I too wonder if by necessarily lowering the speed, I think I guess what I'm trying to say is you're probably, unfortunately, always going to have that one or those few people that are just gonna do what they do for whatever reason. So I think it's something that I'll continue to leave open for discussion amongst you all, and kind of take it from there.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Lair.
One thing I've noticed is the electric scooters.
Yeah.
Nobody looks out for anybody. They're on the sidewalk, they're on the road, and I don't know, and they look like a lot of fun, but I think it looks to me like somebody's gonna get hurt sometime, so. And I don't know what you can do about it. You can't control the speed, you can't say, keep them on the road, because people ride their bicycles on the sidewalk, and so that's what they're gonna do with their scooters, but.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I brought it up, I'm down there a lot, as you know, I live down there and I can walk down there. And it was kind of funny because I was having a discussion with a city employee about, what are the guidelines and maybe we need a little bit of enforcement presence here just to deter some bad behavior. And he said, well, I haven't seen that much of a problem. And it was like within the next, so we kept talking, within the next 5 minutes, somebody in a car ripped down the pier at all of 35, 40. Also, then there was another one that was probably, only going 30, but inappropriately so. There were people walking and, a kid in a bike that was not terribly steady. So that's got me thinking about it. And I'd say, I'm not a big fan of regulation. I probably have a bit of a libertarian streak in me too, but the idea was, maybe it would be one of the few places in town where it would be appropriate to reduce it. And I don't feel that strongly about it. I just thought it was something to think about and maybe observe for a while before we even, formed too hard of an opinion on it.
I think it's worthy of discussion and continue to think about it and see how things progress, but, as this discussion goes on and I sit on my front porch at Columbus Avenue and see crotch rockets go by at 60, you just, the old saying comes to mind, you can't fix stupid, and the sign isn't going to fix that. 15-mile-an-hour sign isn't going to fix that kind of behavior, unfortunately, so.
It does raise a penalty, though, for someone who's, gets.
Right. I understand. Thank you, Mike. Any other old business? All right, any new business? Bring forth. Any community input? Mr. Harris, anything?
So I was gonna.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah, no. So I was actually, I probably should have, I don't know where this fits in to this meeting, but I was actually going to bring it up to Mr. Klein. later, when we speak about, when we talk about traffic patterns and things. So oftentimes, I'm coming out of, well, every day, I'm coming out of Chesapeake and right there where Decatur meets Water. I spoke to Mr. Whoopser about it last night, just about my concerns, with the new development there on the corner. Obviously, many of the homeowners actually park there, on Water Street, and rightfully so. I'm certainly not saying, they need to park elsewhere or whatnot, but I was wondering if we could look into potentially making that a four-way stop. And I say that, when we think about the increased, vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic, I think it's only going to, become a little bit more problematic. I notice pretty much just about every day I'm creeping pretty far out there just to make sure, someone's not coming. And to our point about, speed and things like that, God forbid somebody's coming down there at a bit faster rate, and, we do have a potential, for an accident. So I was just wondering if that was something we could take a look at and go from there, so.
And Mr. Chairman, so sometimes, the visibility issues do get overlooked. Sometimes it's overgrown bushes. Sometimes it's something you can't do anything about. Sometimes it's low-hanging trees. Sometimes you can't even see the stop sign because of branches. But that would be especially useful there, in my opinion, because the road is so wide there. It really invites, maybe others have seen it too. Obviously, both of us have seen, they get rolling pretty good at that end, and so maybe that's a perfect place for a four-way, or maybe a three. Well, it also occurred to me that a three-way at the end of Shoreline where it turns and meets, but Water, but maybe even better at Decatur.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, before the end of the meeting.
Since we've been addressing a lot of traffic issues and traffic calming, I don't think the manholes are designed for traffic calming, but my tires and wheels on my car are asking me when the manholes are going to be lifted.
Through the chairman, they're working through them.
Are they?
They're just, unfortunately, the contractor couldn't get their subcontractor out fast enough behind them, so they were lagged by several weeks, and it's taking them a while to work through everything.
I don't know, I kind of like the slot.
Mylan Road looks great, though, by the way. They did do Mylan Road like yesterday. It was yesterday they did Mylan Road, Bill. There were a lot of them there.
I knew it was coming. It's just,
Yeah.
all right. Mark?
Mr. Chair, to the committee, I do have some news. I am going in for hip replacement at the end of the month. As a result, I am not sure how long I will be incapacitated, so I would ask for relief, at least from October's meeting.
Absolutely.
I don't know why.
So noted.
You guys don't.
I don't want him here screaming in pain, Joe.
Put a piece of leather in his mouth and let him bite it.
We'll let you take care of that.
All right.
Okay. Any other items to bring forth before the group? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second?
let's do that one at a time.
Go ahead. You, all right.
Mark got the second.
It's me.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good meeting. Thanks, Aaron.
Hey, we're going to port.
Tim, thank you for the pen.
Oh, no problem. Those are nice. Those gels.
I got meetings
Maybe like
stacked
see you in a
this morning.
second.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you in person.
Likewise.